Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to everyone who are there here on this session. We are here in association with AWS User Group, an initiative by AWS User Group, which is an AWS Solution Architect Associate Certification Bootcamp. This bootcamp has been organized by various AWS User Group, which is AWS User Group Indore, AWS User Group Rajkot, Hyderabad, Ranchi, Nasik, as well as Dehradun. So along with this AWS User Group, as we are here to have a boot camp which will help you to train yourself for Amazon Solution Architect Associate certification. In this boot camp, we will ensure that you get more experience, understanding, as well as you get the best practices of working on different AWS services. So let's go live and let's learn about what exactly we'll be covering in this boot camp and why you should be looking forward to this boot camp. So the speakers for today's session is Faisal Khan. He will be the co-host with me. He is a founder and CEO of ecom.in and as well as an AWS User Group Hyderabad lead. If I talk about myself, I am a lead architect working at Quantify as well as an AWS APN ambassador. I love to work and talk about different technologies on AWS in different AWS user groups and other community leads. You can reach out to both of us on LinkedIn, GitHub, or any other social media platform. Today's agenda, we'll have first the introduction for AWS certification to give you a basic understanding what exactly is a certification, why you should do the certification, what are the different tracks available of the certification when we talk about AWS certifications. The second one, what we'll talk about very specifically to introduction of AWS Solution Architect Associate certifications, like what exactly its curriculum, how the exam pattern looks like, or what you should focus and not. And at the last, we'll have a fire chat. We have invited a couple of special guests, chief guest kind of guys who have cleared the certification and will help us to share their experience, their strategy, their thought process, and how this certification helped them to change their perspective of looking to AWS. With that, let's jump to the first section, which is introduction to AWS certification. Generally speaking, we hear a lot from different folks, right? Why you should get certified, right? What exactly it is important, why you should do it, right? There are different perspectives of thinking aloud about it. Some people will say, hey, I can do the same thing without going certification. Yes, that's exactly correct. Some people will say, I'm already working in and out on AWS hands-on in different other projects or different in my company. Then why do you need certifications? So all those perspectives are pretty much some or other way, that's correct. But some or other way, certification also helps you to look forward to understand that, do you know in and out about the things which you should be knowing as a best practices, right? So a couple of things or a couple of pointers of why you should get certified is, first point is, in general, we have seen 80% of the people receive an higher salary, right? When they have certification, when they have certified, it's more like an credentials, what you get on your resume that help them to get a higher salary around it. The second point is 52% people get a better opportunity. One thing which I can talk very openly in this entire post-COVID world is the request and the demand of people, folks trained on cloud has increased tremendously. We all know about it, and that has opened a door of certification a lot. And we'll see whenever you scrolling any sorts of LinkedIn or any professional website, first thing you will see, people will either request that are you AWS certified, or some or other guys are doing certification. That buzz is all over the place because each one wants to get ahead in this race. The next one is the professional. With certified, you get a professional rise, right? Like you get a kind of a different kinds of promotions, a different kinds of roles, responsibility. You become more mature in this entire AWS ecosystem, right? And at the last, the people who are hiring in the market, the hiring managers also aggressively look out for certifications, right? Because certifications is more like a star to your profile via which a person can easily identify that, okay, no, he's a right person because he understands in and out about the AWS. Need not to say hands-on, all of the stuff are very good and they are the foundational stepping stone to AWS certified. But AWS certified is like a wrapper or a package that helps you to build an overall of your profile and resume. So that's why it's very important that you should get AWS certified. Now, it depends what kind of role you are, what kind of expertise you play in industry. There are different tracks too of that, like based from data engineer to DevOps to machine learning. There are different tracks to it. which will upcome and which we'll learn about in next session. So this exactly I was talking about, right? That AWS certification journey. It need not to be that, okay, if I am a cloud engineer or I am a DevOps guy, then why I should machine learning? Or if I'm a machine learning, then why I should DevOps, right? All the certification includes best practices with respect to each and every services, right? Starting from the bottom, which is the cloud practitioner. This is a foundational service, which is very much helpful for the folks who are into the pre-sales kinds of a role, right? Or into an early business kinds of stuff, sales and marketing kind of stuff. So you understand what do you mean by cost, what are the best practices, what are each services used for, or what are the best practices and why you should adapt to the cloud, right? So it is very important for those guys to understand this fundamental part of it. And as well as for anyone who's very new in the AWS cloud, if you want to just do an hello world that, okay, how the certification look like, what exactly, where I should start, this is the right place where you should start with it. Again, this is an optional thing. If you are an expert, you have hands-on experience, you can directly reach out to professional, but it's always good that you climb one step after another. So this is a good start with it, where you can start your practice via practitioner. The second comes is the entire associate band, where you have 3 certifications: solution architect, system administrator, and the developer. Now, according to your role, the certification varies, right? Solution architect will talk about broadly about all the services on AWS, the best practices when it comes to architecting part of it. System administrator is more specific to the securities and best practices deployment around it. And where developer associate is more talking in a sense like, okay, what exactly, how to do cloud native CI/CD, or how you should build an application which is more scalable and all. These are the different 3 certification. According to your role, you can pick whichever you feel best that can help you to get more professional grip to it. And at the top layer, we can see the professional layer, which is like the edge on this entire pyramid, I would say, which help you to give an extra credentials to ensure that you are well qualified and you understand all the best practices, which may be well architect reviews, which may be how to build a disaster recovered solution, how maybe highly scalable resilience architecture, which ensures that you cover all sorts of best practices while designing the architecture. If I talk about solution architect professional, or if I talk about DevOps engineer, then you ensure when you're working in and out hands-on, then how you can embed that best practices in all of your solutions. So that's about the foundational, associate, and professional certification track. There is also on the right hand side, you will see a specific track, which is specialties, right? This specialties is very important for the folks. Now, for example, you are a machine learning engineer, or let's say you are a network expert, right? For sure, you can go through all the certifications, which will help you to gain more knowledge, but you can start with what best you are, right? These are the tracks which are very dedicatedly focused on those particular expertise. Like if I talk about networking, it talks about VPCs and those kinds of specific knowledge. In data analytics, it's talk about the entire warehouse data lake, databases like Aurora and all those kinds of stuff, machine learning, SageMaker. And at the last, when you talk about security, it talks about all the best practices like KMS, encryption, and those kinds of stuff, right? So these tracks are very specifically designed for that pillar, which are very well clear and transparent from the name. So these are the different certification. Total 11 certifications are provided by AWS. You can pick anyone, whichever suits well from your entire expertise and your hands-on knowledge around it. But it's always good to start from the cloud practitioner, then the associate, then you go to specialty and professional around it, right? In this particular bootcamp, we will be focusing on solution architect associate, which is in the associate branch. This certification will help you to get more broader knowledge of AWS services, the best practices, and the introduction to different services which you may not have worked in and out in your professional career. So as I was talking about, what in this bootcamp we will be doing, focusing on AWS Solution Architect Associate certification. First, let's understand what or who are the right people or right audience for this certification, or what exactly AWS recommends when it comes to this certification, right? So if I read out AWS certification, this is an exam code SAA-C02. It's an intended for anyone who has 1 year or more years of hands-on experience. This is more like you're working on AWS for over a year or more hands-on, designing available, cost efficient, fault tolerant, and scalable distributed system on AWS. Before you take exam, we recommend you should have, right? So again, this is a recommendation. This need not to be must requirement that you have to be in here. This is a recommendation that in order you excel into the exam, you should have some understanding about this terminology. Don't have to worry about it. If let's say you are a fresher or a newbie, you don't have understanding, that's what we are here as a part of this bootcamp. We will not only help you to understand this, all those kinds of things, what you need to have as a prerequisites, but as well as what exactly you will be learning in this entire certification track, right? And different things which are required as a part of the curriculum is you need to be experienced in deploying, managing, operating workload, right? So that's one. Second, you should have familiarity with AWS command line interface, the CLI. Third is the white paper, the best practices, well architected framework, networking security, global infrastructure. And last is identifying which service can tailor fit which solution best, right? So here are the, I would say, broadly 4 pillars where you will be assist in when you're giving or when you're going through these certifications, right? So anything, any kinds of training, what we will be doing in this boot camp, that will fall into this more 4 pillars where we will help you to understand how you should deploy or manage your workload. What are the ways you can interact with CLIs? What are the different commands, different services around it? Next is the best practices when it comes to well architect reviews or well architect framework. And at the last, which service can fit well when it comes to any solutions around it. So these are the 4 sections, or I would say 4 bigger picture or pillars where the certification will help you to learn and grow. Next is an overview of the exam guide, right? So we spoke about the 4 big pillars about that certification. Now let's understand how exactly each pillar can help you in what proportion, right? So if you talk about the domain one, which is design resilient architectures, that is 30% is the entire of your entire weightage of your exam. 30% will be from domain one. Second is more around design high performing architectures, which is around 28%. The third is domain three, which is around 24%, designing, securing applications and architectures. Fourth is domain four, which is 18%, which is focusing on designing the cost optimization architectures. As I mentioned at the beginning, right? When it comes to solution architect associates, the heavy emphasis and focus are on the to gain broader knowledge of AWS services and focus on designing part of it, right? So as you see in all the pillars, one of the common thing is how well you design the right architectures, which is resilient, high performing, secure, and cost optimized, right? So the core focused in this entire certification is that you become a right architect after going through the certification. I've already given the exam guide here. This exam guide is the summarized. This is a summarized version of this exam guide in terms of what will be your curriculum. There are for sure other best practices have been given, how you should register for it, what will be the exam pattern, what will be the format of it, and other details which will surely cover in the upcoming slides. But if you want to get more knowledge, you can click on this link and go ahead and download and understand about it. As well as Amazon also provides the sample question papers. These are like somewhere around 7 to 10 questions, which help you to understand how the exam pattern will be in general. So for sure, I've embedded both the links in this presentation, or you can even Google the exam guide for Solution Architect Associate or the sample questions. You will get into the training page itself where you can download both of this paper from there. Next, Amazon also recommends the architect learning path around it, right? Like how exactly in what sequence you should perform these courses to get yourself to that level that you can appear for the solution architect associate certification, right? So first, this all I want to add, this all courses are available free on aws.training website, and this isn't recommended or suggestion from Amazon that you can do it in this particular fashion. But if you feel that you're pretty best with other, like for example, you're pretty good with AWS technical essentials, you can skip that and you can directly jump on architecting on AWS or exam readiness or or finally appearing for the certifications, right? And again, as I mentioned initially, a cloud practitioner is not a mandatory, it's an optional thing which will give you more foundational part of it before you go to the solution architect. But again, if you don't have a cloud practitioner certification, don't worry about it. It's not a prerequisite. For sure, you can cover up all those curriculums as a part of this associate certification itself. And if you once, let's say you're able to manage to clear the certification with flying colors, the next you can focus in the professional ladder, which is around the AWS Architect Professional, which we will skip for this bootcamp. We will be purely focusing on Solution Architect Associate ladder. Next, talking about how exactly this exam will work, right? What exact things you should be knowing before going for the certification. The fees for this exam is 150 USD, right? So Amazon charges for $150 for you to register for this exam. That's one. You have to provide 2 identity documents, which can be your Aadhaar card, which can be your driving license, your passport. Those other details you have to provide as an identification document. The important thing is no notes, no pen, no speaking are allowed. I mean, there are 2 ways you can take the exams, right? Pre-COVID world, there is used to be a training centers where you used to go and you can give the certifications exams, as well as now they have also given the proctor-based remote certification, which you can take it from your home, office, or anywhere where there is silence. You have to lock the room. There is no other folks are allowed outside you in that room, and there is a complete silence and a good internet. If you have that, you can appear it from anywhere on remote. Third point, the exams will be, there will be 65 questions will be there, multi-choice, and it will be in 130 minutes you have to do. Roughly 2 hours, you have to finish up this exam. It looks like, okay, one question is somewhere around like 1.75, roughly around 2 minutes, but you can able to manage it. If you prepare it very well and you have good knowledge, you can easily manage that. At the end, you get also functionalities like you can review the exams. It's all about strategy and prioritization, right? So if you don't know a couple of questions and all, you can flag that, you can answer it at the last. You can mark the questions which you're not sure for reviews. Those are the other things what you can do, right? You'll immediately will get to know that whether you are pass or fail, right? So there are 2 ways you can get your results. Let's say, for example, you can get after the exam itself, you will get a screen, exam or result screen, which will show you whether you are pass or fail, right? You're pass or fail, but the detailed summary breakdown across the 4 domains, you will get it like after 24 hours, like somewhere around 24 hours, you will get an exhaustive report. In that report, you will get how good are you across each of the domains, and you will get a score on 1,000. Let's say, for example, 800, 900, you'll get a score on 1,000, which will give you more clarity that, okay, even though, let's say you managed to clear the exam, but here are the couple of pillars, like let's say domain 3 or domain 4, where you need to brush up more. And if you fail, you'll also get to know which domain you need to work better next time so you can clear it. Okay, very important thing. You won't get an answer guide after the exam. Like, okay, let's say if in case if you fail or you pass, you won't get the answer guide for the 65 questions. You just have to watch out from different documents or different kinds of courses, what you're doing, that what can be the answer, but you won't get any sorts of answer guides around it, right? And as I mentioned, you will get to know your results, exhaustive results after your email notification, by a few days after email notification. And at the last, what is then passing criteria? You have to get 720 on 1,000 if you want to pass. It's very doable. It's not at all difficult. It's look like, okay, 720 on 1,000 is going to be on a difficult side. I'll tell you honestly, it's very simple to get around that. So this is how your certification will work. In general, this pattern is common for any of the associate layer certification. The exam patterns change, or the how exam works changes. I mean, the passing criteria remains the same, but the duration changes as you move up the ladder or down the ladder. But for that same pillar, it's going to be the same. Exam content. Okay, this is very important. What will be the format of the exam? This is not live hands-on kind of stuff exam. This is more and multi-choice kinds of stuff. The questions will be either one out of given options. You have to select one correct answer and the other incorrect answers, or it's going to be multiple choice. Select two, select best 3 from given responses. Be very careful that you read out the questions very well, so you understand, is it a multi-choice or it is a multi-response, right? You have to either you have to select one question or one answer, correct answer, you have to select, or multiple answers, right? So be watch out of that. Try to answer the question, even though you are not sure, please answer the questions, because it's very important. There is no negative marking. So let's say it maybe you're not sure, but you want to give a try, go for it, because there is no negative marking. In case if you don't answer, for sure you're going to get 0 on that one. So it's not negative. Try to attempt as many questions as you can. And for sure, save some time, plan your exam pretty well. save some time so you can review the questions which you have flagged, so you can cover up the exam pretty well. Now let's talk about, right? So far I've spoken about why you should do certifications, what generally AWS Associate Architect certification expects from you. Now let's jump to the main topic, right? Why we are here all. So this AWS Certification Associate Bootcamp will, as I mentioned, we have announced it pretty well. We are going to help you, we'll help you with the training, with the knowledge, what you require for the certification, right? There are somewhere around 40 plus different services where you should be knowing about it. We will cover all those services which are listed here as a part of the curriculum. And the service, the pattern is going to be, we'll talk about the service as an introduction. We'll talk about the features, functionalities of that services, a quick hands-on demo, not just the theoretical, but a hello world demo, and as well as talking about the prices around it, right? So we'll try to ensure that this training is first, very importantly, help you to get the certification, which is our must end goal, but also get more knowledge that help you in and out when you're working in industry, right? So we'll ensure that you get not only the certification, but the best practices, the features, and the demo and the pricing, what is required when you're working in and out around it. So that is what we will be covering as a part of this agenda for this session, right? And this, talking about in detail how exactly we will be covering this bootcamp. As I mentioned in the previous slide, there are somewhere around 40 different services which we will be covering in this bootcamp. We'll ensure each session is somewhere around 1 hour or hour and a half with hands-on demo. Each session in this session will ensure that there are experts who are there, who are sharing their experiences, their strategy, how they're able to clear the certifications. We'll have 2 weekly sessions, like in a given week, we'll have 2 sessions. So we can try to have this entire boot camp finish in a month or so, in this entire vacation month. And at the last, the boot camp will run for a duration of the month. So totally we'll have 8 sessions, which will help you to train across this given services, the strategy, the best practices, what you require to crack the certification. So that's I cover up from my side when it comes to the introduction, why you should get AWS certified, what exactly is Solution Architect Associate, and what exactly this bootcamp will cover. Now, as I promised at the beginning, I'll pass it on to the control to Faisal, and he will host the fire check with the experts who's able to clear the certification with an Excel. Faisal, over to you.
Hey Sanchit, thank you for that wonderful explanation of how we're planning to do this, and thank you also for taking the initiative along with other volunteers that are part of the user groups across all of the user groups that you mentioned. So once again, thank you. Let me see if there is any questions that we have. Anybody in the chat? Do you have any questions specifically for Sanchit?
Yeah, I can see. I think what there are, Sarthak, the first question is what will be the frequency of video per week? So yeah, as I mentioned, there will be 2 sessions. What we'll have, each session will be of 1.5 hours. So roughly, I think we'll try to have 2 sessions in a given week on that.
Yeah, I think on the same lines, there's another one about how many days.
How many days we'll have total, somewhere around 8 sessions, and this will span across a month over the weekends. We'll ensure that the sessions are on the weekends, so we have more of people participating in the sessions.
All right, so I think those are the questions that we have so far. So what we'll do now, everyone, is we will move on to a panel session, like a fireside chat kind of a thing. These are people who are just like you and me, everyone, normal people who work everyday jobs, and these are people who are certified with AWS. So we're going to try to understand, what motivated them to go for that certification, and after getting the certification, how it helped them, and also, what was the steps that they took to kind of prepare for those certifications, right? So let me first introduce you to the panelists, and then I will bring them onto the chat. And Sanchit will be there with us till the end of the session. So if you do still have any questions for Sanchit, please do stay around. We'll bring Sanchit back on towards the end as well. Thank you for now, Sanchit.
Thank you.
All right. So first, I would like to bring on Nipun, who's actually a DevOps engineer at Udis Solutions. He's also an AWS Educate ambassador, and as we know, he's also AWS certified. Say hello, Nipun.
Hello, Faisal. Thank
Hey,
you for
thank you for being
inviting me
on.
here.
Absolute pleasure. All right. So we next have Yash Badani, who's actually a senior big data engineer. He has very good knowledge of almost all of the AWS data services in and around the big data space. Say hello, Yash.
Hey, hello everyone. Thanks, Faisal.
Thank you for being on, Yash. And next we have Jay Jain, who's actually also, I believe, big data engineer. Did I get that right, Jane? Are you also big data engineer?
Yeah, senior data engineer. Yeah, same thing.
Senior big data engineer. My apologies. All right. Okay, thank you. And we have next Aishwarya Gupta, who's a cloud engineer, who's very experienced with the DevOps side as well as she's a coder in Python. Say hello, Aishwarya.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. And last but not the least, we have Kavish Mehta, who's also a senior cloud engineer. His strong expertise both in AWS as well as the Google Cloud Platform, and apparently a lot of good knowledge with Kubernetes as well.
Hey, hi Faisal. Hey everyone. Pleasure
Hey,
to be here.
Kavish. Yep, wonderful to have you on all here. So great to have you all on here, and I see we have quite an audience as well. So hopefully, you can help the audience understand a little bit better on why you chose AWS certifications, or how you went about preparing for that. So kind of the first question that I want to touch on is, um, if one of you can tell me, what really motivated you for going for an AWS certification. What was it that you thought, that this is going to help you in terms of an AWS certification? Why don't we start with Nipun? If you can just give us a little bit of your perspective.
Sure. So I find certification is highly useful in terms of getting into the space you want to be in a very short time period. Like if I want to be a solution architect, then if I have the certification, then I will reach over that position in a very short time of period. Then the other point is that like a certification gives you proof that you need to showcase that you have the skills required in the market. And the last point is when people start working with the certified, they will get the confidence, and you will also get the confidence like I'm the certified, then I can go with this thing and I can do this services. So basically from my point of view, these are the 3 points which motivated me to go for this certification.
Thank you. Aishwarya, do you think, is there anything different from like a Python coder or a DevOps perspective for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think adding to Nipun's points, the modern software industry, we've mostly migrated to AWS cloud-based solutions. So I think these certifications help us to be mindful and more familiar with the best practices, as well as the well-architected framework for cloud-based deliverable projects.
All right. Yes, Jay or Kavish, anything to add there in terms of any motivations that you had for going for the certification?
Yeah, I just want to add that, I think Sanchit also covered one of the points that there are organizations who are moving to cloud and want to work with certified professionals and experts. So, having said that, I think it's very important to get certified, especially if you have AWS skills, then get it validated. And yeah, it will also give you a confidence to work over the AWS console, and you will also get to know about certain best practices, which is very important.
All right. Anything from Jay or Kavish?
And yeah, just adding to that, like you'll just get in-depth knowledge of most of the services that like on a daily basis, which I used. There were some things that I didn't knew, but during the certification I knew like those things that exist. So yeah, certification really helped me.
Yeah,
All right,
just
great.
to add, sorry, Faisal, yeah, just to add what Kavish said, like I mean,
if you get the proper hands-on experience, it will be a like an add-on advantage of all the all the services. So yeah, it's a good thing to have a certification.
Wonderful. So just to touch on that point, which both of you said, as you're doing the certification, you happen to learn a lot of things. So, question to you all is like, doing the certification, or in the process of doing the certification, did you learn anything new? Did you add something to your knowledge apart from just getting a certification? Jay, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah. So like while doing a certification, there are like on a daily basis, there are certain services which you will be using on a daily basis. Like, but you won't be having a particular knowledge on that particular service. Like deep dive knowledge, you won't be having on that those particular services. But when you do a certification, you understand like everything, right from like 0 to 100. You gain each and every aspect of those services. Like suppose if you take example of S3, so S3 is not just a storage service. Like you in S3 there are multiple things that you can do. You can even host a website in S3. So those kind of learning which were useful for me when I was preparing for certification. And apart from S3, like there are other services as well in databases and security, and you gain like whole end-to-end architecture, scalability, security part of the whole what you can say system kind of thing. So yeah.
Wonderful. How about you, Nipun? Did you learn something as you were doing the certification?
Yes, definitely. As Jayas told, that is the true thing. Like similar was happened with me in the Lambda. Like I was not able to know about the concurrent time and that. But apart of that, I learned a lot of things like visualization of things. Like while in solution architect, when you are going to create some architecture, the main point is that you should be perfect in your thinking. Like you must get your visualization perfect. Afterwards, you can go and make it that. So the best point I can tell is that while doing certification, I've got a lot of knowledge about like how to visualize things, how to make the things very well, and how to arrange it sequentially. So these are the main thing I can tell.
Okay. Yash, Shaishari, and Kavish, do you have similar experiences? Like, did you learn something new while you were preparing for the certifications?
Yeah, same for me. Like from the certification, from a solution and designing part of, if I talk about it. So previously, I was not able to as Nipun said, like visualize the things. But like after the certification, like if you are working on a use case, you like tend to use better services for those use cases. So like these are the things like which certification helped me the most. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah, adding to Kavish's point, yes. So for building good architectures, I think it's also more important than knowing services that how to identify which service meets a given technical requirement. That you only learn when you start studying these services in great depth using the certification, of course. Yes.
Okay. Yash, anything to
Yeah.
add?
Yeah, I mean the certification solutions architect, right? So when you design solutions, you have to keep in mind those well architected pillars, like reliability, security, cost, and everything. So you will not learn that unless you get to know some of these best practices, as well as getting to know about all the services. Basically, AWS is all about decoupled architectures, and if you know how things interconnected to each other, I think you will be the best solution architect.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so we've heard about, what was the motivation for you to go get your certifications, and if you kind of learned anything along with the process. And I believe Sanchit kind of already explained some of the benefits of actually being certified. Do you have anything to add in terms of like what value does it add in terms of after your certification versus uh, how you saw opportunities before you got certified? Is there a difference? Does it add any value? Why don't we start with Nipun?
Yes, definitely. You will get confidence. Like as I told earlier, like when you are getting we are getting the tag of the AWS certified, then itself it gives you confidence. Like we can do it, and we can do with this thing. We can create a huge architecture kind of thing. So this make difference. Like the confidence is the main thing I can tell. So previously without the certification, I was good in that, no doubt in that. But afterwards, it gives us some boost kind of thing. So that is a great part of the doing certification.
Great. Kavish?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Adding to that, like when I'll just tell my personal experience. When you are working in a project, like previously, what happened? There were some solution designing meetings that happened. So I wasn't like very much sure like where to use which service. But like after the certification, after knowing the services, like I took part actively. Like we can use this, we can use that, we can explore new things. So this kind of things definitely helped me after the certification.
That's great to know. Aishwarya?
Yeah. So as Kavish mentioned, yeah, it gives you more confidence, and it actually adds more value to your suggestions and your contributions to projects related to a well-architected cloud solution. It also gives you like more higher paid opportunities, like Sanchit had previously mentioned, in the field of cloud. Yes, and it also helps you understand the vast variety of services that are there on AWS cloud.
All right, that's great. How about Yash and Jay? What do you think the benefit is after you got certified?
Yeah, I mean, just to like add what Kavish, Nipun, and Aishwarya said, like you gain confidence, but at the same time, you think of long-term benefits as well with respect to project or with respect to client. So when you build a well architecture for the solution design, you not only think of the existing solution, but you think of the future, like based on scalability, cost, and security. So that is also one thing which helps to design a solution. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, apart from the confidence factor, I would also say that you'll start to get more opportunities. Having being a certified architect, in this internet-driven world, we have various regulations and compliance that the enterprises require you to know and also follow. And only if you are certified, that's like a stamp on your form saying that okay, you can do this. So getting certified is that important.
All right. So we all did hear from an employee perspective, and I just want to chime in here and give you maybe an employer perspective, right? Like what employers look at in terms of these certifications. I'd like to just put a small point here that depending on your experience, a certification might not always be necessary, but there is a very good reason to have it. You might be really good at your field. You might have all of the knowledge, you might have the experience that comes with it, but in a country like India, or in the South Asia market, it's a very crowded market, right? And you're competing against hundreds, if not, I mean, if you see a post on LinkedIn for a job, you can see how many people are applying, right? So it's very difficult to kind of stand out. And sometimes if you do have that certification, the advantage is obviously that you are at the front of the line, right? So you get a better opportunity to be noticed beforehand, because not everyone, or in fact, no company will actually go through your entire resume for each and every applicant that is applying. So whatever stands out is going to be a good point for your prospects, right? So absolutely, apart from from an employee perspective where it helps you with all of this, when we look at hiring someone, we also look at that fact, like if there are two people with equal knowledge, with equal experience, who do you think is going to get hired? Of course, the person with the certification, right? So just keep that in mind. So you might be good, but always there is that little bit extra thing that comes in the way. Okay. So let's say we convinced everyone to go do certification, right? And everyone is ready to go and do their certifications. But the main question is, where do they start? So let's go around and try to find out how each one of you actually went about to get started with it. We will talk about strategy and preparation for it a little bit later on, maybe next question. But I want to know, like, from each of you, like, where did you start? Like, what was your starting point to get the certification? Let's start with Nipun.
Yeah. So starting point, like I've gone with the Udemy course, and also apart with that, I've gone with the Amazon Docs, like Amazon Docs, like particular service. Like if I'm going with the S3, then read that Amazon Docs also, and also white paper of AWS. It is like whole book for this AWS. Like you will get each and every point, each and everything will be written in that. So it is a very huge useful for us, and even who are going to give this exam, it is also useful them. And a part of it, the FAQs which AWS is providing, it is some kind of problem they are having, and that kind of thing we have to solve. So that is also one part that we have to learn, or we have to go through it. And the best part, like what I was practicing, like starting from S3, I was trying to create some small kind of architecture, but and also trying to visualize the same thing. Like if I'm going with S3, but users are all around the world, and we have to put the edge location and that kind of thing. So first I will analyze that thing, and then I will draw the architecture. And after going with the services like RDSS came, like EC2S came, I was adding that somewhat parameter into that. So starting with some minor project, I was trying to go with a huge architecture point of view. So this was my way to go with the certifications.
All right, great. Yash, did you have a starting point? We will definitely talk about how you went about doing it, but like, what was your first thing that you went to, or what are the resources that you initially discovered to get started?
Yeah, so it's a short story. I mean, long story short. So there was a compliance reason and there was no one else to do. So I got some help, and we totally revamped the architecture on AWS. That's how I learned AWS.
So you
so
learned it
I so,
hands-on.
so so I learned it hands-on first, and by the time I got certified, I almost had hands-on on most of the basic services. I mean, with respect to solutions architect certification. So it was all around creating custom VPCs, encrypting the EBS volumes, encrypting the databases and whatnot. So it was all done hands-on with a platform engineer together, and it was a great learning experience, I would say. I did have the basic idea, of course. It wasn't like I was using the AWS for the first time, but I learned things in depth only then, and that would be my recommendation as well.
Great. Jay?
Yeah, I think Nipun and Yash almost covered like the two path of how to apply for a certification or give a certification. Either you learn on hands-on, or you take some course and do self-learning and then go for a certification. So yeah, most likely these are the only two ways to get the certification. Either you will have a good hands-on experience on all, like not all, but at least 50 to 60% of the services, or just go through the Udemy or A Cloud Guru courses. And as Nipun mentioned, like if you have completed one particular service, go through the AWS documentation, FAQs, and white papers, which are like mostly important, because not only for the certification but also for the long term part. Like if you basically at the end of certification, you need to think, you need to design a solution for your client, or maybe for any XYZ reason. So you need to think on different aspect for which you are giving a certification. So yeah, that is what I mean. Yeah.
Great. Aishwarya?
Yeah, I think I went more with Nipun and Jay's strategy of preparing for the certification, since I was relatively new when I appeared for it. So I did not have much experience, but while doing one of these courses, I went through the official documentation, as well as I tried to do something of my own on a free trial account from AWS. Even that little amount of experience, just a few weeks of experimenting, really helped me with answering the scenario based questions that are there in the exam. And of course, I would suggest you should go through a few practice papers, since it's a more of a practical based exam, not theoretical. It helps you understand what kind of questions come.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kavish?
So
Go
yeah,
ahead.
like everyone covered pretty much. Also, like just to add up, like what Aishwarya said, like just give as many mock papers as you can, like because once you get the scores, like once you feel confident enough, you will be like able to like clear the certification. And yeah, rest everything is like same what I did with everyone, like what everyone did. So
All right, great. So I actually wanted to talk in a little bit more detail about the preparation strategies. I mean, some of you mentioned what you used for preparing. So anything to add here in terms of, like, apart from things like maybe a Udemy course or a Cloud Guru, or even practicing a little bit of hands-on, and like Aishwarya said, maybe some multiple choice questions. Is there anything else in terms of like tips or tricks that you could give to anybody who's planning on the preparation? Anyone
Further,
can.
just to add on, like apart from Udemy and A Cloud Guru, as Sanchit mentioned, there is like on AWS itself, we have AWS.training. So they also cover like the services and everything like on a very good part. So we that they are the guys who all are preparing for the certification, they can go and have a watch on that part as well. And yeah, I mean AWS.training is very good website, so you can like have a good knowledge on those services if you need in detail. And apart from that, I think in reinvent videos of AWS, major part is covered, like apart from the features and all those things and the new things that will be coming up from AWS side, that has also been covered in reinvent videos. So these two things are also which one can try, apart from one which we have already mentioned.
Okay. Anything to add from anyone else? Anything we missed?
Yes, I think I can add one point. Like, please do practically very much, because practicals give you the encouragement. Like, I can do this thing, and without practical, if you are attending the exam, that will be not work. And you will also feel confident, and you will like very much like this service is very much familiar with me, and that kind of thing. So main point is that please do practical.
Yep, and I completely agree with that, Nipun. And also, like Yash said, learning things hands-on is kind of really important. Because one point that I do want to add here is that there is a difference between getting a certification and having knowledge on AWS. Okay, it's not necessarily the same thing. But what you want to do is try to make it the same thing, because you don't want to be in a scenario where you're certified but you're not necessarily that knowledgeable on AWS. So to avoid that kind of a case, what you definitely want to do is, like what Nipun said, do more learning via hands-on. Especially with if you go to the AWS Architecture Center, there is a link. We'll hopefully try to post it. There are some sample architectures that you can actually install or kind of build yourself, right? So that will actually give you the hands-on, even if it is just about starting a simple EC2 instance. It gives you step-by-step instructions on how to do that. So definitely more hands-on. Because the whole point of getting certified is not just to have a certificate, but to take that forward in your career, right? So if you want to really kind of be good at interviews that come after the certifications that you get, you obviously need to have some hands-on knowledge. Just a certification might not necessarily help in those cases. So thank you, Nipun, for adding that. And like Yash has already mentioned, he's already learned hands-on, and I'm sure most of you already did some hands-on even before you started preparing for the certifications, right? Okay, so that is great. So let's probably take some questions from the audience. Okay, so there is one question here where how can we gain knowledge? This is from Ranjit. How can we gain knowledge related to industry use cases? Clearing certification is one thing, but when you face customer requirement, it's a totally different scenario. So I kind of want to add this to kind of what I was just mentioning right now. Getting certified is one thing, and actually working hands-on is a little bit different. But in order to kind of help with that process as you're doing the certification, you definitely want to do those hands-on projects. And like I said, in the AWS Architecture Center, you do have industry use case scenarios over there, right? So you can talk about like a database migration scenario, right? And there are step by step that you can actually kind of do there as well. So do look at that Architecture Center. And I'll open this question to the panel as well, if anybody has anything to add here.
As rightly said, clearing certification is one thing, but it totally also depends on how many use cases you come across, and that also, is indirectly related to how better you know the services and how closely they connect with each other. So, just to repeat myself, decoupled architectures is something that we look forward for, and how these services connect with each other, and for what purpose you are going to use. As I mentioned previously as well, there are web architectural pillars, and you have to look into each of these pillars, which with respect to the cost as well. If your client is is able to afford that service, what kind of workloads you are going to have in your client side. That's also one of the case. And also, I mean, how secure you want it, and how reliable you want it. And I mean, there would be 5 different ways to achieve the same output, but it totally depends on your client and how they want to go about it.
Okay. Anybody else want to add anything? All right. We will move on to the next question, which is from Tushar, who's asking how to work in small projects to attain more hands-on experience in implementation as I work in a non-cloud domain, telecom.
So
Who's taking?
yeah, I think I'll take it on this one. So yeah, Tushar, I think I can relate this question very well. Honestly, when I started working on cloud a couple of years back, even my company was on the same thing, right? We just started our journey on the cloud. But as I mentioned, right, when it comes to AWS, the kind of documentation, the kinds of use case, they are pretty exhaustive. If you take any of the blogs of AWS, it don't teach you, right, that okay, hey, how you should do it more theoretically. They will give you the tools, the services, all kinds of cloud formation that you can try to do more hands-on, right? And even what Faisal mentioned, there are certain blogs are there where or blogs as well as workshops where you can go and do live hands-on, right? So if you go to workshops.aws, there are different workshops for almost all the possible services, which walks you, like it's like a guide which walks you step by step how you can do it, and what are the best practices, and even also warn you that okay, from a cost perspective, how much it's going to charge. So you can follow that. That will help you to start your journey on the cloud.
Okay. Anybody else want to pitch in? Okay. I'd like to add maybe one more point over here. I do often do trainings, and this question actually comes a lot from people who haven't really been able to work in these sectors and want to actually get that hands on. One thing I would definitely suggest is, if you already kind of did your certification or are in the process of doing your certification, you've learned all of the basic services from AWS. There are several freelancer websites, freelancer.com, upwork.com. You can go to these sites and pick up small things. You don't need to pick up like large implementations. There are small projects like setting up an EC2 or an S3 bucket to do something simple, and you can probably beat everyone to charge the lowest there and still get that project. And this is actually one of the ways a lot of people actually do get hands-on, where you don't really have that opportunity either in your current job, or obviously the age-old problem where you don't have experience to get that job, but in order to get that job you need to get experience, kind of a circle, right? So in those kind of scenarios, you can definitely look at these kind of websites where you can actually go and pick some projects if you have the knowledge related to that. Okay, there is another question. Is VMware anywhere linked to AWS? Okay, just I'll probably take this quickly. They kind of have a link. Obviously, VMware itself is a virtualization platform, but more like on the private cloud side. But a few years ago, I think about 3 to 4 years ago, AWS and VMware did sign kind of an agreement to work together in a particular use case. So if you're already having VMware in your existing environments, you can kind of now use VMware on AWS, and that service is actually called VMware on AWS. It's basically an extension of your VM center, like your existing VMware data centers, onto the AWS cloud. Anything to add from anyone else? Okay. Okay. A question from Abhishek. How can we prepare for interview after certification? Who'd like that? Everyone is smiling, so I think everyone has an answer for this.
I think we already covered up this point pretty well, right? For sure. I think if you think from an interview perspective and you appear for certification, I think it may be a challenge, but if you think from a learning perspective, I want to gain more knowledge from it, go depth of AWS certification, all the AWS services, and have more hands-on, then for sure the certification will help you towards that, right? It's more like a starter kit for you. You can trade the certification as a starter kit in this AWS ecosystem. But if you just only do the certification and don't focus on things like hands-on and still able to manage clearly, then for sure you're not prepared for the interview.
Okay. Anyone has anything to add there? How did you all prepare for your certification after? I'm sorry, for the interviews after your certifications. Nipun has something to say.
Yes. Like almost if you're done certification, if you're done with practical and all knowledge, then there is no need to do preparation, because every interviewer not expecting to answer 100% true. They are just wanting to test your knowledge, like whether you're aware about this service or how we will resolve this problem. So if you have worked very well in the certification, like as I've mentioned, you have read the FAQs, like where people are facing problem, you try to solve that, and you're visualizing the things or all around this, how to create architecture, and then I don't think we need to prepare extra for this any interview. All things will came into preparation of certification only.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're already prepared.
Great. Any other points from the panelists? Okay. Probably one point I would like to add here is that the solutions architect, the name itself, architect, suggests that you know almost everything in the IT field. All right. So whether that is databases, whether that is storage, whether networking, and all of this. But truth be told, unless you have like 10 plus, 12 plus years of experience, it's very hard to claim that you actually know all of these, right? So what I would suggest is, especially when you go for interviews, is pick an area that you are good at, right? So for example, if you already have background with storage, or if you already have background with databases, stick to that topic, because like I said, if you already don't have 12, 14 plus years of experience, it's unlikely that you've almost worked in all of those fields, and your interviewer understands this, right? So when you go for an interview, pick one topic that you think you're good at and stick to that, in terms of like maybe talking about the projects that you have done in that area, right? And talk about what you know. Don't talk about what you don't know, right? So try to stick to that one thing that you're strong with, because not everyone will know everything with AWS, and that is very fair to understand that. And also as an architect, you necessarily don't have in-depth knowledge in each area, right? As an overview, you have understanding of all of this. But then if you're good at one or two areas, you actually stand a better chance. So rather than trying to be jack of all trades, try to be the king of one or two in one of those areas within the solutions architect. And that's going to help you with your interviews. Okay. A career-related question from Sumit. Does studying both AWS Solutions Architect and DevOps help for server network administrators? Sanchit, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead with it. So yeah, Sumit, I think first when it comes to there are multiple ways to look perspective from this one, right? First point is if you're looking to scale your role outside server and network perspective, then for sure the certification are the good stuff, right? You can go with solution architect and DevOps that help you to scale outside the server and network administrator part of it, right? And that will also match pretty well, because you understand the foundational, you have a very good foundation on those stuff, right? On the networking and all, which becomes the core when you're designing any sorts of solutions or when you're implementing the best practices in DevOps. But coming to the point, if you want to go very expert in your specific domain itself and get to the core of it, you want to be an SME in server and network administrator part of itself, right? Then for sure DevOps, or you can also look out for network administrator kind of stuff, where you can get some more SME kind of thing via specialty track. And as well as with DevOps itself, you get some more understanding about the servers and other kinds of security and best practices. So that way you can decide if you want to stay core with your role. You can go ahead with networking and DevOps, But if you want to go broader across different services, then for sure you can go for solution architect and DevOps.
Kavish or Aishwarya, do you have anything to comment on that?
Yeah, just wanted to say that helps me as well, then, because that's my plan too.
Okay, panelists helping each other. Great. All right. Okay, I think we're probably at the end of the session. One thing that I would probably want to add to that, the question from Sumit regarding the this side of things, I would recommend that if you're actually looking at network administration side of things, then there is obviously the specialty certification. Isn't that right, Sanjit? There is a network specialty,
Yes.
right?
Advanced
So
network specialty.
right. So if you're probably looking at that, I would say do the SAA, which is a solutions architect, and then maybe look at the network side of things. Because if you start going the DevOps route, you are definitely going DevOps route, right? You're going the developer and operations kind of field. You will be less of system admin side, because there is obviously the different certification for system operations. So if you want to do that, you could. But then DevOps is definitely for developers who already have some developer knowledge, right? So I would recommend you probably look at the specialty certifications in terms of network administration. All right. All right, great comments in the chat. Nice session. Okay, thank you guys for listening in, and great session. Thanks for the starting point. Cheat sheet. Okay, so they want to know if there is any cheat sheets or tricks that we can give them. Anything from anybody? Any tricks that you can give them to get to the certification?
Yeah, as we are told, like there is no shortcut for do this thing, but yes, definitely you can go with FAQ, and you can go with this white paper and or the particular docs. So there is no shortcut. Things will be there, like going with the cheat sheet and all kind of things. That will not really helpful to score much, or you will get more knowledge regarding this. If your target is to just complete the certification, then that will be helpful. But moreover, it is like learning the things. So there is no shortcut in this thing. But yes, definitely you can go with this Amazon Docs and this AWS white paper and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Any other tricks from panelists?
Yeah,
I would say,
yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I would just add there is no shortcut for success and learning. So you should just prepare for learning, not for the passing the certification point of view, as what Nipun said. So yeah.
Yep, and I think we should all be very clear that the reason for you to do a certification, right? You're not doing a certification because it's the hot thing in the market to do it. You're doing it for your own career, for your own future. So, there's not really many shortcuts. I mean, along the way, you will probably find people talking about how to get things done easier, right? But that actually comes when you have a group of people that you're working with. And probably this is one point that we might not have discussed, which is the power of group study, right? So if you have friends that are already planning to do the certification, I would definitely recommend get into a group study session for all of this. So this way you can actually exchange knowledge, and sometimes your friend might know an easier way or a shortcut, so to speak, but not a shortcut to learn, but a shortcut to do something faster, right? So in that way, it definitely will help you out. I think there was one question here about from Pradeep regarding VPC, networking, ENI, ENA, and EFA. I want to make a shameless plug over here. There is a YouTube video. It's called AWS Networking Masterclass. I think I did this maybe like 3 years ago, something. I do explain all of this in detail there. So Pradeep, you can probably have a look at that. Okay. All right. So I'd like to take final closing comments from all of the panelists. Just give me like your quick closing of why you should do the certification, how it's help, and what you look forward to once you do the certification. Let's start with Nipun. Closing comments.
Yeah. So It's give you a main point if you is that like it's give you confidence and it will enhance your knowledge. So knowledge is important rather than all the stuff. So for the knowledge, you should go for it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yash?
Yes, knowledge and learning. You'll grow a lot in the process, and by the time you get certified, you will also have new opportunities to look forward for.
All right. Kavish?
Yeah, like as Nipunan you said, like certifications brings a lot of things like knowledge, experience, even like higher packages if you want. So uh, basically, certification helps a lot. Like, and if you are like very well, like up to if you are certified up to a professional level, then you are like a demanded guy in a company. As I see Sanchit, like he's the most demanded guy in the company because he has a lot of certifications.
Wonderful. Aishwarya?
Yeah, just to add to all of that, I think for opportunities, not only outside but within your job, you'll get better opportunities to take initiatives independently and even work on things by yourself if you have the certification, because your company will also have that confidence on you that you're able to do it.
Great point. Jay?
Yeah, I think same thing. Knowledge, confidence, learning, better packages, obviously. So yeah, all the best, guys, for the certification. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all the panelists, Nipun, Yash, Kavish, Aishwarya, and Jay. Thank you for taking your time and explaining to the audience what they can do in terms of looking forward to the certification. Hope to see you in the future sessions as well. Thank you. Thank you to all the panelists. Sanchit, if you could just stay on and probably just remind everyone else about the upcoming sessions and like just the same thing that you mentioned before in terms of like what is our timeline and what we expect in terms of when we plan to start it.
Sure. Thanks, Faisal. I think this was a really interesting session for today. Yeah, as next steps, we are going to go more technical detail. Now we assume that you guys understand why you should go for certification and why it is important for you. As next step, we'll start doing our bootcamp first session of training, where we'll go and talk about introduction part of it, introduction to cloud, introduction to AWS, and other services like S3 and EC2, where you get understanding about it. And we'll try to ensure that if there are any folks who are pretty new to the cloud and they don't have any understanding, we'll try to cover from the base, from the start itself. So you get more grasp to it, and we'll ensure that this is how you keep having more technical sessions with hands-on demo and you learn from it, and we all get certified soon.
Absolutely. So Sanchit, we will be sending out an email or
Yes.
like how's it going to work?
So yeah, when you guys have registered for the session, we have requested for your email IDs. The intent was the same, that we guys inform you about the events that are taking place up front, what's the link of it, or what will be the agenda for that session. So you can circulate it across your peers and you do join, prepare yourself with if anything's required, any prerequisites required. So we'll ensure that we'll are having a proper communication offline also with your email addresses, and we'll have a proper promotions, as well as we'll keep you guys posted the duration, the time, and the agenda of the next sessions. So keep waiting for it.
All right, and just to add there, when Sanchit said registration, we're not talking just about the meetup group. I believe there is a Google form, so make sure all of you fill that up so that we can actually send out the emails to you as to when the sessions are starting. We hope to start it as soon as possible, and like Sanchit already mentioned, we'll try to get all of those covered by 2 sessions a week over maybe a month period. All right, great. Anything to add from your side, Sanchit?
Nope, that's all. I'm eagerly watching about it and really interested to host this bootcamp for all of you guys. And yeah, whatever queries, what we have learned today, we have the same kind of energy throughout our bootcamp.
All
That's
right,
all from my
wonderful.
side.
Great. Okay, everyone. I want to thank everyone for listening in and asking all of the questions that you did. And I hope you liked the session. And we definitely hope to see you in the actual bootcamp sessions. And we'll keep you posted. So watch out for the emails that are coming out from us. And like I mentioned, if you already haven't, make sure you register on the Google form, which you can find on your meetup groups. Descriptions and links that are posted. If not, just reach out to any one of us. We'll be glad to help you out. So thank you all for listening in. I hope you had a wonderful afternoon, and see you all soon. Bye-bye.